Hello, my dear friends. Dear friends, I'm once again back with the summary of one more important novel of Ernest Miller Hemingway, a very important novelist of the 20th century from America. Very important novel. He got the Nobel Prize for his huge contribution in literature, in English literature in the year 1954, and in the year 1953 he got the Pulitzer Prize. So this very particular novelist is very important from competition point of view. So now let's look at this very particular just a novel of this novelist that came in the year 1950, Across the River and Into the Trees. This is the title of this novel, publication 1950. See, PUB means published by Charles Scribner's Sons. Remember that. He was the publisher of this novel. He published this novel in the year 1950 after being serialized in Cosmopolitan magazine same year. So remember this, Across the River and Into the Trees. First of all, this novel was actually serialized in a magazine titled Cosmopolitan in the early part of 1950, and in the later part of 1950 this novel was published by Charles Scribner's Sons in the book form. Remember that. So 1950, first serialized in Cosmopolitan magazine, and later on in the same year published in book form by Charles Scribner Sons. Remember this. And now let's look at the title of this novel. The title taken from last words of the US Civil War Confederate General Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson. So he had spoken something. He was a Confederate general in the US army in Civil War, and he had spoken something. And what he had spoken had used certain words. From there the title of this novel comes. Remember that these facts are very important. Now let's look at the plot summary. The first chapter of the novel begins with a frame story depicting 50-year-old Colonel Richard Cantwell duck hunting in the Mereno Lagoon between Venice and Trieste in the present, taking place during the closing days of World War II. Means when the novel opens, we find the central character who is a colonel whose full name is actually Colonel Richard Cantwell. Colonel Richard Cantwell is the central character of this novel. He is a 50-year-old man. Remember this, he is a 50-year-old man with a lot of experience under his belt. Why? Because he fought the World War I, fought the World War II. And when the novel opens, we see him on a duck hunting trip in between Venice and Trieste. Remember this. And this is the time when the World War II just coming to an end. So this middle-aged man is just seen on a trip of duck hunting. In between Venice and Trieste. He who has a terminal heart condition is known as simply Colonel throughout the novel. Remember this, he is 20 years old. He has terminal heart condition, means he has some heart related issue. Very, very important. You can be asked in the examination what kind of a medical condition Colonel Cantwell actually just has in the novel, across the river and into the trees. So you will go with the option terminal heart condition or the heart disease. My bad, my dear friends. And another thing, remember this, throughout the novel he is time and again just addressed or known as Colonel. Only Colonel word is generally used for Mr. Cantwell. Remember that. He's 50 years old, has terminal heart condition. When the novel opens, we see him on a hunting trip of duck in between Venice and Trieste in the Marano Lagoon. Beginning in the second chapter, when the second chapter begins, the book is primarily presented through a flashback narrative of the Colonel's experiences during both World Wars. From his service in the Italian Army during World War I to his time in the American Army. So see, most of the part of the novel most of the part you can say of the novel is actually in flashback. Why? Because most of the time the speaker or the central character of this novel, Colonel Cantwell, is seen or is heard narrating his own war experiences or relating his own war experiences to a young girl, Renata, a young Venetian girl. When Renata he is in love with. So time and again the novel goes in flashback. Time and again the novel is in flashback. Why? Because this man is relating a certain incident or a certain story related to the World War One. Just he fought in Italian Army. So in the World War One, he experienced World War One being part of Italian Army, whereas the World War II being part of American Army that is at present. So time and again the novel goes in flashback, or of the Colonel experiences during both World Wars, from his service in the Italian Army during World War I to his time in American Army. Hemingway provides great detail in describing Italy from its landscape to food and drink. And here Ernest Hemingway also utilizes beautifully the flashback of the novel. And using the flashback, Hemingway speaks a lot about the natural beauty of Italy, just the food habits of the people of Italy and the drinks available or served in Italy. The primary narrative of the book focuses on Colonel's romance with 18-year-old Venetian Renata, whom he calls daughter. So the main plot, you can say, of the novel is concerned with this middle-aged man, Colonel Cantwell, who is in a kind of star-crossed romance with a young Venetian girl. Venetian one was from Venice. A young Venetian girl who is probably 30 years junior to just him. She is very much junior to this man, and that's why he calls her daughter. She is aware of his terminal illness, and this just a young girl Renata, she knows that this middle-aged man has just heart-related issues. Many colonels' wartime memories are revealed as stories he tells Renata. So lots of wartime memories he shares with us in the form of tales. Those tales he actually just relates to this young, beautiful Venetian girl. The novel ends with Cantwell suffering a series of heart attacks as he leaves Venice after the duck hunting. And when he leaves Venice after duck hunting, just we see him undergoing one heart attack after so many other heart attacks that at last punctuates a full stop to the life of this 50-year-old man. The last scene shows his driver reading a note the colonel gave him, indicating that his belongings, means his property, should be given to their rightful owner, that is none other than Renata. And in the last or the final part or final scene of the novel, we see the driver of Colonel Cantwell reading out a note aloud, in which he straightway speaks about his properties and speaks about that person who is the rightful owner of his property after his own death, and that is none other than Renata. With this, the novel comes to an end. So, from competition point of view, all you need to bear in mind that Colonel Cantwell is the protagonist of this novel. Novel was published in the year 1950. Charles Scribner Sons published it in the book form, but before being just published, the novel was serialized in Cosmopolitan magazine. Second important thing, that he is in love with a young girl, Renata. She is from Venice. It means she is a Venetian girl. Why? Because she is from Venice. Second thing, what is his medical condition? He has terminal heart condition. How does he die? He dies of heart attack. And to whom does he leave his property? That is Renata, his love interest, who is very much young. So these are the points that you need to bear in mind. And one thing I missed, that is the title. The title of the novel is taken from, that is very, very important, taken from Last Words of US Civil War Confederate General Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson. These facts or these pieces of information are sufficient as far as this novel is concerned. So that's it, my dear friends, in this video. Very soon I'll see you in the next video.